Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Wednesday to you and your family. Obviously looking at Bitcoin here briefly, just helping understand best practice, big picture. What we're going to do is take a quick look at traditional markets and kind of see why Bitcoin isn't quite doing as well as the regular markets. Now again, it's not like it's phenomenal as far as traditional markets are concerned, but they did gap up and they've continued higher. That's a very positive sign in the overall sense. And Bitcoin's kind of stuck on stupid, as I like to call it. So what is that? What's happening there? Okay. Now, most of the time when that happens, that occurs, it's a very positive thing. Okay. So we'll look at that, of course, and much more. And once again, just if you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. You want to register for become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a site. Rates are increasing first of next year, so make sure that you lock in your rate. And obviously, if you want to become a better trader, I highly recommend using Bitget Exchange, phenomenal exchange, best in the world. If you use the link in the description below, you can of course qualify for my $10,000 prize pool monthly. And obviously, if you are in the States, you will need to have a VPN, but you can go ahead and partner with ExpressVPN like I have. I've been using them for years, and they give you an extra 3 months free when you did a 12-month plan. So very, very smart to do that to protect yourself, of course, in general, regardless of what kind of crypto trading you're doing. So with Bitcoin, what we want to look at is a couple of things. First of all, we peaked at the traditional markets there, up about at 1 to 1.5%. If we take a look also, and we see dollar index, that's also kind of up a little bit. So it's kind of funky in that sense. Usually they're inversed, but it doesn't always have to work out that way. But the bottom line is that what we see here so far is standard for support and resistance levels holding fairly strong. In other words, there is a resistance here at about 16,900 that's holding, but the more often you test something, the more likely it is to break. So if we look back here at this history, we tested this level here at about 16,600, good 3 or 4 times, then it broke down below, worked itself back up, because again, it got overextended and came back. If we take the same scenario here and we look at this, we're going to keep testing this level and inevitably break it to the upside. Okay, so it seems more sensible in the general, the general idea of what's going on here. Traditionally, trading, that's what happens when you're range bound. It'll continue to test one of those levels and effectively break through eventually. We could experience a short squeeze to the upside. We don't know just yet. All right, so here on the daily, what we want to look at is some resistance levels. Of course, confirmation here giving us indication on the RSI there at 50 that we are seeing an exact resistance level there, which is pretty much concurrent with the 17,000 range. In other words, 16.9 to 17.3. That little resistance channel, as I mentioned yesterday, is going to hold until it breaks. Obviously, that's how supports and resistances work, right? So what we want to look at, of course, is a couple of other things too. We take a look at the MACD, we can see the price action is essentially coming down, but it's also dissipating. The momentum to the downside is starting to effectively discontinue. And that's a positive sign there as well. Kind of tells us that this MACD divergence wasn't super strong, and we should expect it to hold. So if we continue to retest the resistance level, the more likely it is to break. That's kind of the concept here. And with us losing that momentum to the downside, it's inevitable for the price action to come above. We can see here, though, of course, we can kind of confirm, for lack of better terms, that the resistance area here is starting to accumulate more factors, if you will. In other words, the 20 and the 50-day SMA are starting to average themselves out right here in this channel that I've discussed here so far that is a strong resistance channel. So until we break through there, of course, we're going to have a few extra resistances that are kind of going to hold the price action down. So I wouldn't expect the price to blast through there in the immediate future, but I do think it's probable, more likely to break through there soon. But also we got to respect the fact that it could not do that as well. What I mean by that is there's a handful of other factors that are present that are kind of telling us otherwise. Let's go ahead and see what that means. First of all, we're kind of averaging ourselves out with the simple moving averages on the 4-hour time frame. That's essentially just one of those things where it's not really giving us firm indications. When you're range bound, you'll see this happen a lot. And we have been fairly range bound for the last 3 to 4 trading days. We look at the RSI as well, kind of hovering right at that 50 mark on the 4-hour, not really giving us much indication that we are truly above or below, right? So we keep getting rejected here. We can see what, oh my gosh, almost like a straight 24 hours just constantly trying to retest that level. Nothing's happened so far. If we take a look here at the MACD, we can see as well the price action is continuing lower as far as the momentum is concerned. Okay, so we're starting to lose that momentum, but once again, once we break through here, that won't matter too much. The key is that we're making higher lows and higher highs, and that's a good sign. And actually, correction, we're not actually making higher highs yet, but you could kind of argue that this is higher than this, right? So it is kind of a higher high, but for the most part, when you see a higher low, concurrent with parallel highs, it often breaks to the upside. We saw this on Chili's and BNB yesterday, and I think those are two other coins that are likely to increase moving forward, more likely to go up than down. Okay, so again, just some kind of things to think about there. So once more, the 4 hour time frame isn't like super, we don't have full on confirmation by any stretch, but higher lows is important. Maintaining that is definitely something we want to continue. So hypothetically, we should see the price action continue from here, okay? Because again, it keeps retesting that level, and the traditional markets again are doing fairly well, all things considered. Okay. Last thing we want to look at is overextension. There isn't much one here. We did kind of identify yesterday that we were kind of sloping down to a 9. We did actually hit that, so inevitably it tries to come up and got rejected at that resistance level, which once again, both moving averages are kind of averaging themselves out just above. Okay, so again, 16.9 to 17.3 is a strong resistance channel. If you have profit targets in that range, that's all well and good. Just make sure they're nice and tight so you can ensure that you're taking profit. If you are looking at the Ichimoku cloud, once again, we're fairly range bound, not phenomenal. As of yesterday, we actually had confirmation telling us that we're above the cloud and we had the conversion line above the baseline. It was looking all well and good. But now that we haven't broken that plane yet, we can see that we're still kind of stuck going sideways here. We've lost that momentum. The conversion line is coming down to the baseline, and it's effectively giving us the indication that if you have a long position, you may want to trim your position because there's possibility of further downside. Okay, so again, we got some conflicting information on different time frames. So when there's situations like this, I like to kind of stay on the sidelines until we get confirmation. We are hoping and likely to break above 16,900, and then that would essentially create itself as a new support level. So if you've ever watched all-time highs or just in general price discovery, it's a really cool thing when it happens because it'll continue to test a resistance level. When it breaks above, it'll come back down to test as a support, and then it'll continue higher from there. That's traditionally 9 times out of 10 what's going to happen. So if we can break above this level, we'll have a scenario like that where we'll retest, you add to your position at this level and continue higher. Coincidentally, we're above the cloud the entire time. Perfect, right? So I would say that we have slightly more bullish potential here on the 1 hour, but also keep in mind too, it's not like one of those things that's going to be significant and like very, very definitive, right? So it's going to be just a really quick decision when it happens, but we probably won't see that for just a little while. So what I'm getting at here is that we don't have this full-on feeling great about a long or a short position right now. It's kind of in that transitionary time frame. Okay, so until it continues to make its full-on transition, we should probably stay on the sidelines and kind of wait it out. That's my personal opinion again. Again, if you are a day trader, different story altogether. You probably want to look at the 15-minute EMA or Bollinger Bands and kind of go from there. But generally speaking here at this point, my trading style, I'm going to wait just a little bit longer until we break above that level and we retest that 16,900 range. And that's a case in point where you might want to consider a long position. But I would generally say that with what we see here so far, the likelihood of upside seems greater than downside. It's just slightly higher, okay? 60-40 split, okay? So again, those are just kind of some numbers that I'd like to provide there. So hopefully that made sense to you and this is helpful for you. Obviously, you want to become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech is a site. And make sure you join Bitget as well with my link in the description so you can qualify for those $10,000 prize pools monthly. Real easy money there. So awesome stuff. Thanks again, Bitget, for the opportunity. Hope you all have a great rest of the day. We'll look forward to seeing you next one. Take care.